evening, everybody. The big clock on the wall says it is 6 o'clock, so welcome to the June meeting of the Seminole County Board of Adjustment. For those of you in the audience who've not been to one of our meetings before, please allow me just a few minutes here to share our normal procedures, and then we'll get started. Staff will introduce each item for consideration. If there's a matter that you would like to speak on, and you're not the applicant, there are forms out in the lobby for you to fill out, and if you could please indicate on there which item you want to speak on and on which side for or against you are, we'd appreciate it. And after you do that, please just bring it down to the clerk seated to my left. When each item comes up, the applicant will be heard first, and those in opposition to the request will be heard next. And if the circumstances call for it, then the applicant will get a chance for rebuttal. We do ask that comments be restricted to just what's at issue. We don't get into homeowners association things or neighborly disagreements or anything like that. If you're an individual, you'll have 3 minutes to share your thoughts. If you represent a group, and I mean a real group, you'll have 6 minutes to share your thoughts. Speakers should move closer to the podium when their item is being presented by staff. Please identify yourselves for the record into the microphone there when you speak, sharing with us your name and your mailing address. Each speaker, we ask, be given courteous attention and that we all treat each other well here. The board may ask questions of anybody, of staff, of folks in support or opposition, or the applicant themselves. Any information you share with us is kept and made part of the record, and if anything you bring is on a digital device, we have cameras that can help you share that, but we ask that you, after the meeting, send a copy to staff so that stays in the record as well. When all of that is finished, I will then close the floor to discussion. I'll ask the entire board for a motion. We might chat about it for a bit, or we might go directly to the vote. During the voting, any of us who you do not hear cast a vote, yes or no, that person is deemed to have voted in favor of the matter. Any person who is aggrieved by a decision of this board, you have 15 days to file an appeal to the Board of County Commissioners, and after the meeting, staff can help you with that process. So, having said that, number one, please.
Number one is a continuance from our last meeting. It is 230 Waverly Drive. It's a request for a rear yard setback from 30 feet to 5 feet. This is located in the Highland Pines Unit 3 subdivision. The structure will be 440 square feet, 20 by 22. Since it is over 200 square feet, it has to meet the same setback, rear yard setback, as the home. And this concludes my presentation. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, ma'am. Gentlemen, questions for staff? Seeing none, is the applicant here? Yes, ma'am, please, if you could come to the podium, please. Yes, ma'am. And if you could move as close as you can to it. I understand with the, no, ma'am, at the podium there. And if you, there we go, that's just it. And we might have some questions, but before that, do you have anything you'd like to add to what staff had shared?
I didn't hear most of what she said.
Mm-hmm. And also, could you, for the record, please, could you share with us your name and address?
My name is Cheryl Sigler, and I live at 230 Waverly Drive, Fern Park, 32730.
Okay. What would you like to share with us, if anything?
Well, I'm in dire need of a two-vehicle garage, and as I put down on the paperwork, for many different reasons, and I've never been through this, so I don't know what to share. If you need reasons, I've got a whole list of reasons.
Mm-hmm. Well, share with us some of the most important ones.
Some of the most important ones is that I have a fence that backs up to Regency Oak Apartments. And people come over there. There's a picnic area behind my house on their property. And they jump over the fence and they steal from me. When I first moved into the house back in, I bought it in 95. And in 1996, the previous owner had a wood structure out there, had like a work place, because he did a lot of the work on the house himself. And I stored an $800 mower I had just purchased, but there was no door, no locks or anything like that on it. And about 6 months into my stay, everything was stolen out of it. And I ran a report on with Clue, which has to do with insurance claims on that house, and it's only for the house, not the owner. And it showed he had quite a few burglaries. And I'm trying to prevent that because I need to get everything out of my house to have it renovated. And for the past, I don't know, 2 or 3 years or whatever, I've kept my mower inside my house in the family room. It's a $3,000 mower. I also brought a lot of police cards where they write down the case numbers when I ask them for one, or some of them may even volunteer about some of these burglaries. They've even tried to break into my house. But I have a grandson that says he doesn't mind coming to take over the house when I pass. And that's one of the reasons, too, that I'm here, is because I feel like I might be a little bit more qualified to get this done if it's going to be done than he would be, because he's only 23 years old. And he's got 2 babies and 1 on the way. And I wanted it to also be a safe place for the babies to have like a hurricane or tornado shelter in the garage. And I understand from a friend that I had still have up in Tennessee, it's like 18 or 20 something inch thick concrete, a little small room there, would protect all of them. And he also wants to have, I guess because of his schooling, we grew up in different eras, solar, and he wants an EV charger for an EV vehicle out in the garage. And when I moved into the house, I had a brand new car from Hal McNamara down on 50 and Crookman Road. I paid $38,000 for it. And after moving in the house, after a year or 2, the paint faded. It was candy apple red. The sun faded it. The hail beat it up. There was magnolia cones next door where I had to park that fell on the car. And somebody up to no good also smashed the passenger's mirror off of the front of the car. And I thought that this would protect the vehicle for my grandson if he moves in, to have an actual garage to lock it up and not go through what I went through. And he's expressed that to me, especially about the solar part. And a safe place for the babies to go in. And I have a very odd-shaped lot. It's like a baseball diamond. And I've also had a general contractor to come out and look at it to see where it would be best. And I showed him the covenants. As a matter of fact, he even took a copy with him with my survey because he said he would do the job when I got the variance, if I got the variance. And he had it laid out to where it would encroach on like 5 feet of the setback, but only at a very small area. Say like if this was the area right here, the building would go this way.
But, yes, ma'am, we've got drawings that show what you want to do, so we're aware of that. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. And that's mainly it. And, I just feel like it would protect my property a lot better. Because I've had quite a few things stolen. I have a gazebo as well. And I recently, like last year, I think it was, someone took an aluminum yard rake.
No,
That's about
if-
$90.
I'm going to be rude here, and I apologize.
Okay.
And certainly, I hear that you've been through a lot of difficult things, but maybe just kind of keep our comments on this kind of particular shed
Okay.
and
Well, it's actually a concrete block
the garage, excuse me, you're right, I'm sorry.
garage.
Gotcha. All right, well, the other members of the board, any questions for the applicant? Ma'am, one of the things that we look for a lot of times is input from neighbors, whether they support what you're doing, which makes our job easy, or if they don't, we roll with that too. Have you spoken to your neighbors about this?
I have spoken to each one on each side of me, not across the street or down the streets, but right on
Just
each
next door?
side.
Yeah. And what are their thoughts?
Go ahead. As a matter of fact, one that lives up the street, I did her as well. Just because we were chitter-chattering about it one evening as I was coming into the subdivision. And she said it sounded like a very good idea. And as a matter of fact, she was thinking about coming down here and trying to get one herself.
What do your next-door neighbors think?
My next-door neighbor said they didn't mind what I put on my property, that it had nothing to do with them. That's basically what they said.
I got you. Thank you, ma'am. And you can go ahead and sit down. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Anyone in the audience to speak in support of this matter? Anyone here to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I'll close the floor. You can go ahead and sit down, ma'am.
Okay,
Thank you very much. What is the pleasure of the board?
Move to approve.
A motion to approve from Mr. Beagley, a second by Mr. Wright. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Enjoy your garage, ma'am. Enjoy your garage, ma'am.
Oh, Lord.
Number 2.
You can go home and get your contractor to apply for the permit. Okay?
Number 2.
Good evening, Angie Gates, Seminole County Planning. Item number 2 is a request for a rear yard setback variance from 20 feet to 15 feet for a screen room in the PD Plan Development District located in the Retreat at Oregon subdivision at 984 Fall Creek Point. The proposed screen room addition will be 648 square feet and will encroach 5 feet into the required rear yard setback. The rear of the subject property abuts a 10-foot landscape wall and a wall buffer easement. The Retreat at Oregon Homeowners Association approved the applicant's request for the screen room, and there have not been any prior variances for the subject property. This concludes my presentation.
Gentlemen, any questions for staff? Ms. Gates, do we know, and I'm sorry I'm catching you flat-footed with this question, do we know if we've granted variances for any other properties in that neighborhood?
There have been variances, but not of this nature.
Gotcha. Thank you, ma'am. Is the applicant here? Is there anything you'd like to share, sir? Or do you all have any questions for him? That's fine. Thank you, sir. Anyone here to speak in support of this matter? Seeing none, is there anyone in the audience to speak in opposition? Seeing none. Gentlemen,
Move to approve.
we have a motion to approve from Mr. Beagley. We have a second from Mr. Wright. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, enjoy. Yes.
Item number 3 is a request for an accessory structure size variance from 955 square feet to 1,423.45 square feet for a detached garage in the A1 Agricultural District located in the Foxborough Phase 2 subdivision at 188 Steeplechase Circle. The proposed detached garage will be 1,423.45 square feet, exceeding the allowable size by 468.45 square feet. There have not been any prior variances for the subject property, and this concludes my presentation.
Thank you, ma'am. Gentlemen, questions for staff? Seeing none, is the applicant here? Yes, please, come on down.
Hi,
Yes, ma'am, if you'd start with your name and address, please.
my name is Barbara Rodriguez, and my address is 188 Steeplechase Circle.
Yes, ma'am, please go ahead.
My husband and I moved in December of 1995, and few things have changed, and my mother-in-law, who's 81, lives in another city. We're expecting her to have to move in with us in the very near future. We have a 4-bedroom house, so that's not a problem. The problem lies is that the 4-bedroom house, the bedroom that I would have for her, has a lot of things that we cannot store in our current garage. Our current garage is, we could insulate it, but it doesn't have air conditioning, and there's items that we can't have with heat. So my husband wants a workshop, so we went ahead and decided to put it in. We have the second smallest house in the neighborhood. We did that on purpose. We bought the house when we were in our 20s, so we made sure we stayed within our budget. The actual garage part of it is around 600 square feet, which is within the 50% that is required from our house. The thing is that we want porches on it, and what's pushing us over the 50% are all the porches. I have a copy of the drawing, if that'll help you visualize our porches, if you'd like it.
If you'd like to share it, please do.
Here. Thank you.
Yeah, because I think all we have is just a site plan.
And here's the actual drawing.
Mr. Chair, are we keeping these? Is this part of protocol, or?
The clerk will keep one, but we can do whatever we want with our copies.
I only need
Or if
one
these are, or
copy,
if
I'm
these are the
sorry.
only copies, yes, let's just send it back to the clerk.
I've never done a variance hearing, so I didn't know what,
You're
I
doing an
didn't make
excellent
extra.
job, don't you worry about it.
thank you. One of the other things is, my understanding for how the percentage works is that they use the entire roof structure of the accessory garage, but they only use the heated square footage of the actual house. So that makes the percentage even worse.
It's only calculated by livable area.
Right, the livable area.
Right.
But if they use the same calculations on our accessory garage, it would be 600 square feet, which would keep us within the 50%. My understanding is that if we put a breezeway from the porch, not the porch, the accessory garage to the house, then it would be okay because it was attached. But it's so far away from our house that it's gonna cost us what I've been told is around $15,000 to add a breezeway. And for what we want it for, we don't need a breezeway. And we would rather not spend the money on the breezeway if we don't have to. There really hasn't been any objections. I brought a letter from, an email from my neighbor, Debaty, and
Where is that person's property in relation to yours?
here.
Are they the ones just to the north?
The zoning map is up. You can-
Oh, do you see, if you're looking at it to the right, that little weird shape, that's a retention pond. They're in front of the retention pond.
Was it where it says, was it 192 Steeplechase?
Excuse me?
They,
Or it says 192 Steeplechase?
192.
Gotcha.
If it'll help, I brought a,
Oh, no, that's
A
fine.
flat
Good,
map.
go ahead. I think we've got it, but thank you.
okay, I also brought some pictures. This is their view. Clara's view to my house. You can't even see my house from where they're at. I also brought pictures from the front of my house. You can barely see my house from the street. This is the view from around where the middle of where we want to put the garages at, that looks towards the back into the PUD that was built behind us, that are also on acres, on a minimum of an acre lot. The main structure of their house, which is quite large, It's an amazing house. It's blocked by trees. This one is my neighbor. His 184. That's what, from our backyard to his backyard, what he would see.
Question I have, ma'am, is, and if you've got more, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you.
No, I'm good, you can.
Is certainly a large parcel of property that y'all own. And for reasons I could probably understand, that you've kind of moved it to the northern edge there, I guess, to be close to the house, the main house.
Right.
Is your, and if you'd said this and I missed it, I apologize, but is your neighbor just north of you and next door, are they okay with this?
The
Sir,
ones
sir,
on
I'm sorry.
184?
Well, whoever, if you're looking, for example, at that map right there, directly above you.
Okay. The one that's north of us, he's the one that just screamed yes.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
And then the Beatties, of course, are the other ones.
Gentlemen, any questions? All right, thank you, ma'am. Sir, does that make you Keith? Yes. Would you like to share more? Yeah. Well, come on down, please. I've got your form here, and I'll give it to the clerk for you. But even though I have your form, if you could please share your name and address.
My name is Keith Claiborne, 184 Steeplechase Circle. I've lived there since 1997. And what they're proposing is not unusual for our subdivision. We've got boathouses, we've got houses, we've got separate structures all throughout the 50 or so lots. Probably half of them have boat or RV structures already on the lots. So this is actually smaller than quite a few of the other ones that are in Steeplechase. So apparently, I don't have any objection to it. She's shown me the pictures of what they propose, and I fully support it.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. If anybody has any questions, that's,
I think it's about as straightforward as you can be, absolutely.
okay.
Anyone in the audience, anyone else in the audience to speak in support? Seeing none, anyone in the audience to speak in opposition? Seeing none, we'll close the floor. Gentlemen?
Move to approve.
A motion to approve from Mr. Levant, second by Mr. Wright. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Enjoy. Number 4.
Item number 4 is a request for, 1, an east side yard setback variance from 20 feet to 10 feet for a detached garage, and 2, a west side yard setback variance from 20 feet to 10 feet for an attached pergola in the RC1 Country Homes District in the Isle of Windsor subdivision located at 28 Windsor Isle Drive. The proposed attached garage will be 200 square feet and will encroach 10 feet into the required east side yard setback. The pergola will be 200 square feet and will encroach 10 feet into the required west side yard setback. 2 letters of support were submitted by surrounding neighbors. There have not been any prior variances for the subject property, and this concludes my presentation.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Any questions for staff?
I have one.
Yes, sir.
Underneath the criteria, the homeowner had written that they're want to replace a shed from the 80s to build a 10 by 20 detached garage. Is that shed, you seen anything on the history of that property for variances? Sheds?
That is the location where they want to put the detached garage, but no, I couldn't find any.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Is the applicant here? Yes, sir. Anything you'd like to share? Yes, sir. Is there anything you'd like to add to what Steph had said? Please, come on down. Just please share with us first your name and address.
Good afternoon, Board. My name is Matias Gomez. My parents are the owners, Francisco Gomez and Giovanna Politi. I'm speaking on behalf of them. I have lived in that home for about 5 years, but I just moved into my own home in Volusia. So we've been working on trying to get this squared away, and I've just kind of been working with the county for quite a few years now. So I kind of knew the process, and they just asked so I could work on behalf of them. And to start off on the question about the shed, sir, when we bought the house about 7 years ago, we bought it in 2018. The shed was there, and it was permitted in the 80s, I believe. And the shed is deteriorating. The shed is a 14 by 12, so it is similar in size. The location that we wanted to put it, it did pass the national high water mark. It was all in line and agreeable, but if it needed to be a little higher, we're okay with that. That doesn't affect us. We just wanted to replace it so we wouldn't affect the neighbor. He said he didn't have a problem with it since they've been there since the 80s. And then my neighbor on the other side, which is 26, they had a variance given to them. Actually, multiple houses in our neighborhood got variances given to them. And we wanted to do on our side of our pool a pergola. But we were actually going to put it inside the screened room, in a screened area, but it didn't fit. So they actually advised us to go ahead and try to apply for a variance because they were awarded it. And we thought maybe we could do it and, use the side lot with the pergola that we are looking to purchase.
A shed that's still standing after 45 years in Florida, that's impressive, so.
Barely.
What is that thing?
On barely.
What is that thing made of, geez?
Good stuff. Any other questions for the applicant? Or any questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Is there anyone in the audience to speak in support of this matter? Seeing none, anyone here to speak in opposition? Seeing none. Gentlemen,
Move to approve, Mr. Chair.
motion to approve, is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Levant seconded, Mr. Austin made the motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Enjoy. Number 5.
Item number 5 is a request for an east side yard setback variance from 10 feet to 2 feet for a detached accessory structure in the R1AA Single Family Dwelling District in the San Leandro Springs subdivision located at 1735 Carlton Street. The existing structure is 780 square feet and encroaches 8 feet into the required east side yard setback. A code enforcement violation number 25-76, was issued for the structure, resulting in the necessity of this variance. 6 letters of support and 2 letters of opposition were received from adjacent neighbors. There have not been any prior variances for the subject property, and this concludes my presentation.
Thank you, ma'am. I have a question for the county attorney, please. I should have given you a heads up, and sorry to catch you flat-footed there. It's been a million years since I was in law school, but am I remembering correctly that there have been cases in Florida that people have built things contrary to land development codes, were not able to get variances or whatever government approvals were necessary, and the government has forced them to tear them down? Am I remembering correctly?
I'm sure there is a plethora of cases out there that deal with
Wasn't there
that.
the one, like an entire apartment complex had to come down?
That sounds vaguely familiar.
Yeah.
But I would have to research that further. I don't want to speak off the top of my head, but that does sound vaguely familiar as kind of one of the more notable cases. Yeah.
But that would be something that would be a possibility if something like this is declined.
Potentially, yes.
Gotcha. Thank you, sir. Any other questions for staff? All right. Is the applicant here?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Anything you want to add, sir?
Yes, sir.
And if you could please share with us just your name and address before we start.
I am James Reason, 1735 Carlton Street, Longwood.
Yes, sir.
So I put this up with some bad advice from the people that sold me the building, and I probably shouldn't have listened to them. And then there was also a structure almost identical in the neighborhood that I went and talked to him about his before I put it up, and he said he didn't get a permit either and had problems, so I did it, and I'm sorry. I totally apologize. Our neighborhood has these structures all over it. I don't know if you saw in your packet, I put a whole bunch of pictures in there. But at any point, it's there. At the worst, you could make me move it over 10 feet, and I would lose the garage part of it. But that's not going to change the view from any of the neighbors whatsoever. It's still going to look the same. I'm here for a little mercy, basically.
Gotcha. Thank you,
There's
sir.
there's
I'm sorry, go ahead. I thought you were done. I'm sorry.
There's this, within a few years, there's a house that put up a big 3-car garage in the backyard, and it's only about 5 feet from the back of the property line, and they were given a variance. We did our best. I mean, everybody that sees it has no problem with it, but I guess somebody does. We got some letters. We got some people here tonight. There's buildings all over Seminole County that are just like this. In fact, right here in Sanford, if you look at the historic district, almost every property has a garage on the back of it or a 2-car garage apartment on the back of it that's a foot and a half from the line. And I know this because I own a tent fumigation company, and I've tented half of them. And we know there's like this much room to get between the property line and the building. But the biggest point is, it's not going to look any different. It's going to cost me a lot of money to tear it down. I certainly don't hope that happens. This was a dream for me to have a building like this at my age. I've been wanting one my whole life. And just begging for some mercy at this point.
Gotcha. Thank you, sir. Any questions for the applicant? All right. Thank you, sir.
I do have a letter from a neighbor that couldn't make it because he's a fireman for the DeLand Fire Department.
If you could give it to the clerk, please. Thank you, sir. Anything else?
I don't. Were you able to look at the pictures that I submitted with the?
Yes, sir. They were in our packet. Yes, sir.
Yes, all right, good deal. That's pretty much
You
it.
have color
then.
and everything.
Yep, all right, thank you.
Is there anyone in the audience to speak in support of this application? Yes, sir. Whoa, several of them. You guys decide amongst yourselves who's first and come on down.
Take the lid off. You let the genie out.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. If you'd share with us first, please, your name and address.
Hi, I'm David Patton, 1780 Carlton Street, about 6 houses down from Randy. I just wanted to say I've had the pleasure of living in San Orlando Springs my entire life, and actually in 2019, my wife and I, we bought the house that we currently live in. We drive around it all the time, and we jog around the neighborhood. We see similar structures to this everywhere in the neighborhood. And not only the structures, but we also see RVs and boats and things like that parked outside of people's houses that don't have nice enclosures like the one that Randy is trying to get a variance for. Personally, I think that structures like these bring property value to the neighborhood, and they look nice. Yep, that's all I gotta say. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Who would like to speak next in support?
Hello. My name's Lauren Patton. I live at 1850 Barton Street. I as well have had the pleasure of living in Rolling Hills or San Orlando Springs for 30 years. And as David was saying, there are a lot of eyesores in our neighborhood, but Randy's structure is beautifully done, and I think does nothing but raise housing values in the area. So I would love to see a property as beautiful as Randy's to in-house the toys and as opposed to what some of the other neighbors have for their property. So.
Perfect. Makes sense. Thank you, ma'am. Who would like to also speak in support? Come on down.
Hello, I'm Fred Higgins Jr. I live at 705 Andrews, which is actually in the bottom corner of, so my backyard backs up to a side. And personally, and I've lived at Andrews for over 8 years, and seeing them move in when they did, and what the status of the home looked like prior, and what it looks like now, unbelievably different. So much better. They take pride in what they do. If you looked at the structures, you're going to see that it matches the entire home. The beautification that they've done should not be touched. They've done an amazing job and are impeccable neighbors to be next to. So personally, I think it needs to stay.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Who else would like to speak in support? Please come on down.
So one of my neighbors, she didn't want to speak, but she's submitting her, and this is me.
Gotcha.
So Dave Keaton, 394 South Crestview Avenue. My home's in the top right-hand corner. You can see my screen enclosure there, way up there in the corner. That's my place. So I second, or just want the last gentleman up. That's what the observation is. They've really improved the property. It's been great. And if it was an eyesore, like the other gentleman said it is, color-wise, scheme-wise, it kind of, you know, and as stated, I don't know what the precedents are, but I've lived there since 2005 in that house. And when I moved there, I noticed that people do have a lot of RV and carports and things like that. That's pretty common in that neighborhood, actually. Don't know the rules, that's my observation. And as a neighbor behind Horizons, I support it. It's not an eyesore whatsoever. And as the gentleman said, when you take the overall footprint of the property, it's an asset to the neighborhood. Thank you.
Gotcha. Thank you, sir. Anyone else who would like to speak in support? Seeing none?
Written ones there.
Yes, I've got an opposition there. Opposition. That's an in favor. All right, so seeing no others wanting to speak in support, anyone in the audience who'd like to speak in opposition? Yes, ma'am, please come on down. And I don't know if they're all here, but I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 saying in opposition. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Andrea Dinkins, 1701 Carlton Street. My husband and I moved into our house, which is immediately next door to the applicant for this variance.
So if we looked at that, what's over your shoulder, just to the right, the red square, that's you?
Let me get my bearings here. We're at the corner of Crestview
Yes,
and
the
Carlton.
red square is you.
The red square is you?
You see the first corner lot up
If you
there?
kind of look on the right side of the drawing, ma'am, if you look on the right side of the drawing where there's the green and red properties, are you the red one there?
We're the red.
Yes, ma'am, gotcha. All right, thank you.
So that property line that's between us, the whole thing, from where it makes that jog down to the southwest, that's 150 feet. Randy's got 200 feet deep and 150 feet wide. And you can see the corner of that garage right there on that other one that you just had a minute ago, the site plan, I think it was, or the plot. Anyway, he's got 28 feet from the edge of his garage to our shared property line. Now, he came over, yes, right after we had moved in, about 4 months after we had moved in. We're the new people in the neighborhood. Bought the house, we've been doing extensive remodeling, didn't expect any problems, working on our stuff, not paying attention to neighbors. He comes over and tells us he's going to put this RV shed up. Everyone's got one. Yeah, we've seen them, we know it. We expected he'd go down and get a permit, get permission to build it, and have it in compliance with the existing zoning regulations, which call for a 10-foot setback. Several months go by, nothing happens. Then we see a shed or a structure go up in his backyard on a Saturday morning, and we figure, well, okay, he changed his mind, he's putting it over on the other side of his lot. Didn't say anything about it. Come the end of the year, one evening, we hear all this noise out there, and we go in the next morning, and there's people putting this 30-foot long by 12-foot tall shed 2 feet off our property line. When we called him on it, he said, oh, we had told you about it. It's right where we said we we're going to do it. No. He didn't say anything about putting it in the setback. He didn't say anything about encroaching. Where before we could sit on our back porch and look across west and see sky and sun and sunsets, now I see a brown shed and a red roof, 12 feet tall. Now, I'm sorry everybody else is okay with it, but in my opinion, it's an eyesore. It's going to be a negative impact on us and our property values when we try to sell that house with that thing next door. It's very hard to explain that big a structure put up illegally without a building permit and then granted a variance to leave it where it is. Just doesn't make sense to me. There's no hardship here. There's no condition that goes with that lot that means he can't put it in compliance. He's got plenty of room, 28 feet from the corner of the garage. He just has to move it back and over a little bit, which is the same thing I told him when we first complained about it when he put it up. Just unbolt a few things. It's not a permanent structure, he says, good. It'll be easy to just pick it up and move it back where it belongs. That thing doesn't belong 2 feet off our property line. I appreciate that others in the neighborhood think it's gorgeous, they think it's okay where it is. I suspect if that were on their property line and the conditions were the same, they might be saying something different. But we object strongly. You have 2 other letters from our real estate brokers that we know, because that's the first thing they said. That's going to be a problem when you try to sell your house. So, thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am. Anyone else in the audience to speak in opposition? Seeing none, we'll close the floor. Gentlemen, your pleasure.
Excuse me, do I have a chance to rebut?
You do, and I apologize for not doing that. I'm sorry. Please come down.
I think we had some people come late on what we have. Is it too late for them to speak?
Yes, yes, sir. You have your rebuttal, please. But their forms will be in the file and in the record also.
So yeah, before I did this, I knew that it was going to be close to them and they might have a problem with it, so I wouldn't talk to them. I told them exactly what I was going to do. The exact dimensions of where it was going to go never came up, and neither did the permitting. But I told them it was going to be 30 feet long and 12 foot tall, just like all the other ones in the neighborhood. And I also offered to buy any plant material that they wanted to put there that could grow up and block the thing from their view. And she agreed. So 4 months later, it went up, because that's how long you got to wait to get one. And she came over the next day and was furious. And didn't know what was going to happen at that point. She came back the following day and said, okay, you can go ahead and leave it. I'm not going to turn you in, and I'll take you up on getting the plants. So
I'm going to interrupt you, and I apologize. I understand the disagreement between you and your neighbor, but if we're talking about arguments that go towards moving you towards getting a variance,
yeah.
Share that with us rather than the back and forth with you and your neighbor.
Well, because she was okay with it at that point. That's my argument. I spent $2,200
You're not arguing with
on
her.
these
You're not
plants.
trying to convince her. You're convincing us.
Right.
And so what was said and wasn't said between you and your neighbor?
Well, that's why I'm not so sure why she's so angry, because she agreed to me putting those plants there, and I spent $2,200 to appease her for that. And now she's having a problem with it.
It's not so much an appeasement thing, but, sorry, excuse me.
Our friend has a very important job, and when a call comes in, he has to jump on it. So please go ahead. Well, he ask his question. And pause for point of procedure. Do we still have quorum, or do we need to wait for him to come back?
I believe we don't have quorum right now.
Do or do not?
We do, we do, okay.
With 3 of us, we have quorum? Okay. Please continue.
The other item is, like I said earlier, if I move it over, it's not going to look any different. I could have put it at 10 feet and gotten a permit, but I just didn't want to waste that space. It's still going to look the same. If I completely get rid of it, I can park a 40-foot RV there that's 12 foot tall, and she's going to have to stare at that.
So you do have the ability to move it to come into compliance with the code?
I do, but I'll lose the garage portion of it, which I love dearly. I mean, it's like I told you earlier, it's been a dream to have a second building on my property like that. And it's gonna cost a lot of money to take it down. I spent a lot of money to put it up.
Well, here's my question on that, though. The reason I don't find that argument persuasive, that is, I'm going to have to spend a lot of money to tear this down, is, well, you didn't comply with the law.
I know.
And there's nobody's fault for that but yourself.
Exactly.
And can you understand from my perspective, because I don't mean to speak for these other gentlemen, but can you see that as perhaps a precedent, that if we see that as a persuasive argument, how many other people could come before this board and say, I just built a 3-story house, I know it violates the code, but goodness, that would cost me a fortune to tear it down, don't make me do it. So share with me your thoughts on how to become more comfortable with that.
Well, I totally get what you're saying, and it's really not about the money for me tearing it down, but it is gonna be an expense. If you tell me to tear it down, I'll have to tear it down. But, or I won't do that, honestly. I'll lose the garage and move it over, and she'll still look at it. It's not gonna look any different 8 more feet away from her property. None. And she's still got the option to let the plants grow, that I paid $2,200 for her, that she agreed on. That's my only point. I did what I could to make her happy. And again, the other point, even if it's, the whole thing is gone. I mean, we have a brother-in-law that visits once in a while who drives brings over about a 40-foot motorhome and parks it in the same spot. And that's what they're gonna be looking at. It's not gonna look any different from their vantage point. And we have tried our best to beautify that property, I'm telling you. I've spent more on that property in the last 4 years than we paid for it. It's been an absolute money pit.
All right, thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
With that, we'll close the floor. I'm going to ask for the board's pleasure, but I'm not then going to go to a vote because I think we need to chat a little bit about this. So for discussion purposes, is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve from Mr. Wright. Is there a second?
Second.
A second from Mr. Levant. All right, so the thought that occurs to me, and I think you guys have heard me say this a lot of times, is, you know, in this world, forgiveness, you know, can't be better than permission. And everybody has a duty to comply with the law. And to say to someone, well, it would cost me a lot of money to comply with the law, never strikes me as persuasive. And I think, at least from my perspective, is that when someone wants to do something different, as we've seen with other folks tonight, and their neighbors are all okay with it, all right, well, it's kind of like if we all go play Monopoly, and everyone playing Monopoly says, you know what, every time you get a fine or something, we're going to put it in the middle of the board, and you land on free parking, you get that money. Fine, everybody playing the game agrees to it, okay. You know, we've got a variance to the rules. But I do think, I joke all the time, I worship at the Church of Property Rights. And we have a property owner who says the rules are the rules. And I have a right to see that the rules are complied with. And that makes a lot of sense to me. And I'll just share a last thought of the last thing that I think about when I think of something like this is if the applicant had come before us properly following the rules, how would I have voted? And I think, again, with someone in opposition, I would have trouble. And I would certainly listen to you guys because I have so much respect for you. But that's where I'm coming from. I'd love to hear your thoughts.
You said something earlier to him, which it kind of resonates, is my wife has a saying, is what you permit, you promote. And it's, like you said, anybody coming forward, we passed a million things, you know, up here where residents are all good. And no matter what the deal was of a plant, monetary, whatever it was, the fact is right now is that there is somebody in front of us right now that is, and as you said, you know, they say no. And as you said, is we have a duty up here as well to uphold what was it, the house of what? What do you worship at again?
House of property.
House
Church
of
of Property Rights, yes.
So the Church of Property Rights, and that's part of our thing as directors. It's hard, but it's if even one person comes up and says, you are taking away a view, which has been many times with us, that we have seen that, or you're taking away something like that, a property right from another neighbor, even if there is monetary. I'm not an attorney, I'm not, so that's not what we do. That's just my thing, is it's an unfortunate situation, it really is. 'Cause I mean, if everyone else has one, everyone else was happy, but that's not the situation we're in, and it stinks.
Guys, Joe, want to share thoughts also, or?
No, I pretty much agree. At this point in time, although the majority of the neighborhood may have one, there is a neighbor now who is in opposition of it. So because it didn't originally comply with our rules and regulations, it is what it is.
Larry, give a thought?
You know, just because Austin brought it up, is, you know, the thing about views is, if I'm not mistaken, we don't make decisions because, as far as we're concerned, a view is not an internal right. You know, if somebody has a lake view and somebody puts a fence on their property and they can't see the lake anymore, that's
too bad.
They're not entitled to that view. So I don't look at the view thing as, you know, decision making. I look at it that, you know, again, this is a situation where, through fault of his own, the applicant has listened to a contractor put something on his property that, for all purposes, should have been permitted, you know? And he should have come to our board at that time. But, you know, I still fall back on the fact that he's here because this county, this board has you know, he has a right to come here and basically ask for a change to the current land codes that are, or the zoning codes that are built on this. So I'm not opposed to it, I guess is what I'm saying, so.
Fair point, fair point. Anything else y'all want to share? So let's call the issue then. We have a motion to approve and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay?
Nay.
All right, so it fails, sir. What you have the right to do is, and after the meeting, staff can help you with it, or you can call them tomorrow. You can appeal this if you'd like to the county commission, and they can, of course, do whatever they want to do. And I wish you luck. Next item.
Yes, thank you, Mary Robinson with Development Services. This is a request for a rear yard setback variance from 25 feet to 13 feet for a screen room addition in the RAH Affordable Housing Dwelling Unit at 1185 Amanda K. Circle. The property is located in the Forest Cove subdivision, and the request is for a 220 square foot, 10 by 12, screen room addition. And this setback was created by a development order, number 94-42, that established a rear yard setback, and at 25 feet, with the first 10 feet of yard to remain undisturbed. The proposed screen room will encroach 12 feet into the required rear yard setback, so will not interfere with that 10-foot preservation area. There is a building permit application, 25-4941, that is submitted and contingent upon this variance application being approved in order for it to be submitted. There have not been prior variances for the subject property. However, there have been 8 setback variances granted throughout the Forest Cove subdivision for screen enclosures. The approvals span from the years of 2002, I'm sorry, through 2019. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you, ma'am. Gentlemen, questions? All right, is the applicant here? Yes, sir. Anything you'd like to add?
Good evening, gentlemen. My name is Brian Dorian, 2938 Stonewall Place, Sanford, Florida. I'm representing Holly Sharbaugh. She's the owner of this property. If you stand in the backyard on the existing concrete slab and you look to the right and the left, this exact same screen room already exists. And the reason why it exists is because up until recently, this variance, or this setback didn't exist. They have 25 foot of rear yard, and they have a 25-foot setback. And that wasn't the case when the neighborhood was established. There are many screen rooms in there, and there have been many setback variances for this reason, because the backyard is 25 feet. And the variance is for a screen room that already exists in there multiple times. They have a genuine hardship. We're not pouring concrete there, just building a room, a screened room that is identical to those on both sides. Oh, and there have been letters of support from the neighbors, but it wasn't mentioned. I dropped them off on.
And it's in our packet, though.
Okay, very good. That's important. That's all.
Thank you, sir. Gentlemen, any questions? Thank you, sir. Anyone here in the audience to speak in support of this matter? Anyone here to speak in opposition? Seeing none, gentlemen, your pleasure.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Motion approved for Mr. Wright. Have a second for Mr. Beagley. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Tell your client to enjoy. Number 7.
Mr. Chair, the number 7 has been withdrawn by the applicant.
That was very nice of them. Number 8.
Number 8 is a request for a front yard setback, whoops, a second. Is a request for a front yard setback variance from 25 feet to 0 feet for a fence in the R1A Single Family Dwelling District located at 5201 Lake Howell Road. The subject property is in the Tanglewood Section 3 subdivision and is, like I said, in the R1A zoning district. The property is a corner lot and as such is considered to have 2 front yards for setback purposes. The front of the house faces Lake Howell Road. The Ivy Lane lot frontage is where the variance is being sought. The 6-foot privacy fence does encroach into a 5-foot utility easement at the northwest corner of the property, and if approved, they will have to submit an estoppel letter with the building permit. The proposed fence is going to be 1 foot from the sidewalk, but 33 feet from the edge of the paved road. If the variance is approved, the fence must be on the subject property because the current fence that he wants to replace does encroach into the right-of-way. Our traffic engineering section has no objection to the placement of the fence as it relates to site visibility. A letter of support has been received from the neighbor at 1843 Ivy Lane, which abuts the rear lot line of this subject property. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, ma'am. Gentlemen, questions for staff? Seeing none, is the applicant here? Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Richard Adams Dewara, 5201 Lake Howell Road. First-time homeowner, just moved in this year, super excited. Started working on projects. First one was, there's a panel, the rear fence that has fallen into the neighbor's yard. Said, well, I better replace this fence. Looks like it's been here for 15, 20 years. What could possibly go wrong as part of the permitting process? And it's been a journey to learn not only does the current, just for this side of the fence, encroach or go past the setback, but it also encroaches the property line. So all that's to say, needless how today...
Which probably didn't show up on your title report, did it?
And the property's changed hands twice since this has happened. So needless to say, regardless of how tonight goes, I'm going to be losing some of my yard that is currently fenced in, but I am respectfully requesting that the side back goes down to 0 for this side, just to maintain as much yard as possible. Each foot that this side of the yard, of the fence moves in, I lose 68 square feet of yard. You know, so I have aerials of this fence going back to at least 2009. And the rear neighbor's been there since the 90s. They said they remember parts of the fence being back there since 2009. I've obtained written approval from both of the neighbors to my east and north. And then there's a ton of foot traffic that goes along the front of the property because I'm on Lake Howell Road. Been out in the yard just talking to neighbors as I pass. Everyone's been supportive. And I also have photos I've grabbed off Google of other similar fence lines that I've noted in the neighborhood. That's it.
Thank you, sir. Any questions for the applicant? Thank you, sir. Anyone in the audience to speak in support of this matter? Seeing none, anyone in the audience to speak in opposition? Seeing none. Gentlemen.
Move to approve.
Motion to approve from Mr.
Second.
Levant. We have a second from Mr. Wright. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Best of luck, sir. Thank you. Nothing like buying a home to open your eyes up. All right. Number 9, please.
Yes, this is a request for a front yard setback variance from 25 feet to 18 feet in order to construct a single-family home in the R1 AA zoning district, and this is Lot 15, Lake Rena Drive. The subject property is in the replat of Block C, Nob Hill, Meredith Manor. It's an irregular-shaped lot and faces 3 street frontages and is considered to have 3 front yards. The front of the proposed single-family residence faces Lake Rena, and this is where the variance is being sought. The proposed dwelling is 59 by 41 plus feet, totaling 2,430 square feet. There have not been any prior variances for the subject property, but there have been 4 variances for setbacks approved along Lake Rena Drive. And that concludes my presentation.
Gentlemen, questions for staff? Ms. Robinson, I could have dreamed this, but did I read somewhere in there that this parcel has never been developed?
Yes, sir, it's vacant. That's why it doesn't have an address.
Gotcha. But it's not like there was something that was scraped, it's just never been developed?
Correct.
I guess just because it's so funky. Gotcha. All right, thank you, ma'am. Is the applicant here? Anything you'd like to add, sir?
Not really. It's pretty
You'll have-
straightforward.
You have a question?
Why anybody want to live there?
I'm sorry. If you're going to talk, I have to make you come down and all that. Gentlemen, do you all have any questions for the applicant? All right. Anyone here to speak in support of the matter? Seeing none, anyone here to speak in opposition? Seeing none. Gentlemen, your pleasure.
Move to approve, Mr. Chair.
Motion to approve from Mr. Beagley. Is there a second from Mr. Wright? We have a second. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Best of luck to you. Number 10.
Yes.
By the way, there are 14 for those of you all in the audience. Number 10.
This is a request for a height variance from 6.5 feet to 8 feet for a fence in the R1 AA single-family zoning district located at 1461 Canal Point Road. The subject property is in the Bowling Green subdivision. The fence proposed is 100-foot long, 8 feet in height. The majority of the proposed 8-foot privacy fence will abut the I-4 rest area, which is to the east. There is a building permit application pending, 25-5882, and is contingent upon approval of this variance. There have not been any prior variances for the subject property. There was an approved variance for an 8-foot fence at 1465 Canal Point Road, and that was in 2017. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, ma'am. Gentlemen, questions for staff? All right, is the applicant here? Yes, sir, anything you'd like to add?
She covered it pretty well.
Gentlemen, questions for the applicant? Anyone here to speak in support of the matter? Seeing none, anyone here to speak in opposition? Seeing none, your pleasure.
Move to approve, Mr. Chair.
Motion approved from Mr.
Second.
Beagley, second from Mr. Wright. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, best of luck to you.
Sorry you have to deal with that rest area.
Absolutely. And all those do not park signs.
Oh, yeah.
Goodness. Number 11, please.
Ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. The next request is for a north side street setback variance from 15 feet to 0 feet for a fence in the plan development zoning classification located at 101054 Glory Land Court. This subject property is in the Riverside Oaks subdivision and is within the Riverside Oaks plan development. The property is a corner lot and then is considered to have 2 front yards for setback purposes. The front of the house faces Glory Land Court. The Stonebriar Lane side is where the variance is being sought. The proposed fence is an open aluminum fence, which is 5 feet in height, which is 1 foot higher than what is permitted by the Land Development Code for fences within a front yard. The aluminum fence does encroach into a 5-foot drainage utility easement, and that will have to be required to meet the criteria for placement with an estoppel letter at the time of permitting. The proposed fence is 0 feet from the sidewalk and 12 feet more or less from the edge of pavement. The Traffic Engineering Division has no objection to the placement of the fence as it relates to site visibility, and there have not been any prior variances for the subject property, and that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, ma'am. Gentlemen, questions for staff? Seeing none, is the applicant here?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Come on down.
Hello, Justin Taylor, 1054 Glory Land. I brought some additional pictures where we have fences that are in the neighborhood already, and they butt up right to the sidewalk. So I was just going to share those with you.
And while she's putting those up, just my question out of ignorance, and I apologize. When you say open aluminum fence, what is, that's not chain link, is it?
No, it's the wrought iron. Those
Gotcha.
Vertical.
No, well, there we go. Gotcha. Thank you.
So this right here, and also our HOA has already approved it as well. This is where the fence would go.
The first one you just showed us, where was that located? And this one?
These are both in our neighborhood. They're on the already developed side.
Gotcha. Is that the last one? Okay, cool. All right. Anything else, sir?
No, sir.
All right, any questions, gentlemen?
I have a question, sir. Putting out the fence, understanding you have 20 feet, why can't we set the fence, give it a 1 or 2 foot buffer off the sidewalk? Why does it have to be up against the sidewalk?
So it will be 1 to 2 feet off the sidewalk, but when we were filling out the paperwork, they told us to just do 0.
Okay.
Our fence vendor.
Understood.
But yes, it's going to be probably the width of a mower, I would say.
Between the sidewalk and the fence?
And the fence.
On the opposite side of your backyard?
Yes.
Okay. And the reason I ask that is, you know, these are, there shouldn't be any fences up against these sidewalks. You know, it's as simple as riding your bike down the thing and your handlebar hits something, you know, an obstruction. So I think it needs to have somewhat of a buffer. And if I'm understanding, you know, I mean, have we made the motion yet?
No.
Okay. You know, when we do make a motion, you know, whoever makes it, you know, regardless, whether if it's approval or not, you know, I would probably amend that to at least, you know, have a 2-foot buffer there.
Okay.
Are you okay with that?
Perfectly fine with me.
Okay, thank you.
You read my mind. Thank you for doing that, asking that question.
No, that was all I had. You know, I just, not a fan of putting it right up against there. We're supposed to grant when variances are appropriate, the minimum variance. This is kind of the maximum, the opposite side. So I'd like to give us a little buffer there. So,
Yeah, I apologize for that.
thank you. I didn't need to share that with you, but I did. I felt obligated for some reason.
Perfect. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone here to speak in support of this matter? Anyone here to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I think you might have a motion in mind.
Yeah, I'd say so.
I make a motion to approve with the condition that the fence to sidewalk setback is not 0, but a minimum of 2 foot.
Gotcha. We have that motion from Mr. Wright. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Bigley seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, enjoy.
I apologize, Mr. Chair, for purposes of how we phrase the language, does that work for staff? Okay, thank you.
Good to ask. I'm glad you did that. Number 12.
Number 12 is 2001 Sykes Avenue. This is the Mount Zion
For the record, Ms.
Baptist
Hamel,
Church.
your name? I'm sorry to be a pain, but just for the record, your name and...
Oh, I'm sorry. Kathy Hamel, Development Services. I will be presenting the rest of our
I'm sorry, you're
agenda
going to hit me
tonight.
for that, I know, I'm sorry, but yes.
It's at 2001 Sipes Avenue. This is the Mount Zion Baptist Church of Midway. Midway is a community development block area. It's considered to be a target area. The church constructed this gazebo or pavilion, which consists of, hold on, it's hard when you wear glasses and you have to look up and then you can't,
Yeah, tell me about it.
read
Yeah.
what you're doing. So I apologize. They're asking for a west side setback from 50 feet to 42.5 feet, and an east yard setback variance from 10 feet to 6.5 feet for a gazebo. The church constructed the gazebo without a permit. They received a code violation. This structure was constructed in order to be able to service the community with food and donations and as a gathering spot for the Midway area and the members of the church. This concludes my presentation.
Perfect, thank you, ma'am. Gentlemen, questions for staff? Seeing none, is the applicant here? Yes, sir. Anything you'd like to add to what staff said? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
She said what I'd like to say.
All right. I do have a question, though, and someone else might also. Would you mind, sir? Just, and then just please share with us your name and address when you get on up there.
Yeah. Johnny Perry, 1223 Randolph Street, Sanford, Florida.
Just a quick question, because I ask everyone this, you've probably seen it tonight. Have you chatted with your neighbors about it?
Yes.
No one's in opposition?
Well, they're here.
Oh, okay.
So.
They're here and in opposition.
We'll see what their stance is here.
Thank you, sir. That answers my question. Gentlemen, do you have questions also? No. All right, thank you, sir.
Okay.
I made you walk all the way down there for that, jeez. Oh, goodness. All right, well, having said that, anyone in the audience to speak in support of this? I think I saw a piece of paper come down. Let's see. All right, we'll get that in a moment. Anyone in the audience who wants to come down and speak in support? Seeing none, I do have a comment sheet from a, well, there's several names on here, but the person who will be speaking in opposition, or maybe the wrong, is there someone here to speak in opposition? Just maybe the wrong thing was checked.
Checked the wrong thing, yeah.
On here it says in opposition. Are you in favor, the person who brought this? Okay. So come on down, please.
My name is Sharon Stevens, 336 Providence Boulevard, Deltona, Florida. This variance is new to us. That property is adjacent to our property. And we was told that the variance may have an impact on our property. And it might be minimal, but we don't know how minimal and how much of an impact it will be in case we want to sell it or give it to one of our kids. And they'll have the same problem, I guess, with a variance if they want to build.
Well, now this will just affect the church's property, nobody else's property, in the sense of within the four corners of their lot. It doesn't say you can or can't do anything on your own property. Now, you still have the right to object, but I want to make sure that you follow what I'm sharing.
It doesn't affect your property at all. This is only affecting just the property parcel of the church right now. This isn't taking away property from you at all.
So yeah, don't.
It's not taking away, it
So it
is?
won't affect us at all if.
No, this
we
is
give
only
it up.
affecting this property address.
It will only affect to the extent that if we say yes tonight, if the board says yes, that gazebo stays on the property and that's it. That's the only thing we're talking about.
Okay.
Now, you still have the right to say, you know, the rules, as you've seen other folks say, the rules are the rules and I want to stand on my rights. You have the right to say that, but just we want to make sure, you know, you've got the whole picture.
Okay. All right.
So having said that, you still, ma'am? Yes, do you still have the same opinion?
I got a third of it. I got a sister and brother.
They're
I'll check
here?
them.
All right, we'll come on down, please. If we could have your name and address first, please, ma'am.
Okay, my name is Gloria Johnson. I live at 1436 Mara Court in Sanford.
Yes, ma'am, please, go ahead.
Okay, agreeing with my sister, we have been told different things about the variance. Came to us about a variance, that how for the property, the church property is to our property. We were told that we need to write a letter in regards to the variance, whether we approve or disapprove. So with that being said, all the information that has been given to us, it's like, it's not clarity. You know, how far the property line or how, you know, close to our property. So nothing has been truthfully told or all the accurate information. So that's why we set as opposed to it, because we haven't been getting all the correct information.
Fair enough.
So we thinking it's affecting our property. So, like I said, that's why we opposed it.
Fair point, absolutely. I hear you. Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
And is there a third person? Yes, sir. Is there anyone else in the audience to speak in opposition? I think this does call for a rebuttal. Sir, if you might want to come down and address the concerns of your neighbors.
Yes, thank you. The letter that they mentioned was requested by me. These are 3 members of the same church. So I asked for a letter, simply state that it was all right that we would get 3 feet, 3 inches, instead of, right now, the rear of the property is 6 feet, 9 inches away from their property line. And the requirement, my understanding, is 10 feet. So we simply was trying to make it a lot simpler for this procedure here to receive a letter from our membership saying it was okay. The gazebo, personally, I don't see it affecting their property, but that's their opinion, that's their property. But we use the area to feed the homeless and the hungry, and provide clothing, information about things that's available in the community. So, but that was a letter that we requested to write a letter, so we would just smooth this procedure, because we're all members of the same church.
I got you. Thank you, sir. That's, I think, another one. We should have a motion and then maybe have a little chat. So for purposes of discussion, is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
A motion approved for Mr. Beagley. Is there a second? A second for Mr. Wright. If you guys, my thoughts and what I wanted to chat about, and of course we'll chat about whatever you guys want to talk about, is what popped into my mind is, unlike maybe some other things we've heard tonight, this might be a matter of the neighbors being in opposition because they're not certain what's before the board tonight. Would you guys, and of course, subject to the applicant being okay with it, maybe they could chat for a minute or two while we consider item number 14, and we can circle back to it, or if you guys, you know, the motion's been brought, we can just vote right on it.
I think as long as the information that they're getting is correct, because it seems like right now it's kind of, you know, in the void of information is misinformation. And so I think as long as there's an understanding of what the actual ask is and how it affects parcels, et cetera, then as long as there's correct information, so maybe even a staff member to, because as one of them had said was, we've heard different things. We've heard different things. No person better than an actual staff member who does this to set the record straight.
I do have to, Kathy Hamel, Development Services. I am presenting the last 2 items, but if I could go ahead and present 13 and 14, and if you can just give me 5 minutes at the end, and I can speak to the neighbors about this, about what the actual request is.
Mr. Chair? I would like to have that conversation. I would love, me personally.
Jay will do it.
Okay,
Thanks, Jay.
super.
Perfect.
So maybe we can understand what the ask is.
Sure, and so maybe, is there amending the motion to perhaps continue this item to the bottom of the
The
agenda?
bottom of the agenda, yes.
All right.
That would
Any
be-
objection to that? We'll consider it moved and approved then. And we'll pause for a second for staff to organize, and then we'll move on to the next item. By the way, I did this without check. Sir, as the applicant, do you mind us kind of doing this so you can chat with your neighbors for a bit? Because if you can address their concerns, then it gets easier for us. So what we're saying is just, we're gonna, not gonna say yes or no to yours right now. We've got two more items, and while we're discussing those two, if you and your neighbors could go out in the lobby and chat with staff, and if you come to an agreement, good. If you don't, that's democracy. But at the end of the meeting, we will vote on your matter. All right, good. So we'll give them a minute to step out, and then we'll move on to 13.
13, Kathy Hamill Development Services. This is a request at 1250 North Brassy Drive. It's a request for an accessory structure size variance from 322 square feet to 720 square feet for a detached garage. You guys, I'm going to go a little bit off script, but this is one of the changes we made in our code in which we put a size limit on accessory structures, because as the Board of Adjustment realizes, we were getting a lot of very large, and so this is a variance from the 50% requirement that you can't go over. So we don't have a lot of variances that have been granted for this, so this is fairly new regulation that we are now seeing variances from. It is located in Beeson subdivision. This garage will be 720 square feet, which is 24 by 30, and it exceeds the allowable size by 390 square feet because the existing home is 644 square feet. The location of this property is unique in the fact that it abuts a commercial or even so an industrial area to the front and a platted subdivision to the east of the property. As I said, there's been no variances that are similar to this that have been in this neighborhood, and there's no variances that have been granted for the subject property, and this concludes my presentation.
Thank you, ma'am. Gentlemen, questions for staff?
I do.
Yes, sir.
Sure. Sorry, I can't see it.
I know, yeah.
What was the, and again, Cliff Notes answer, please.
Yes.
Why was 50%? How did we come up, the county in this sense decide that that was the acceptable value for when we changed the code?
Right, we wanted the single-family home to be the primary structure on the property, and the 50% gave it the size to say this is a single-family home use, not, an accessory structure, not to be more than or seem larger than the existing homes.
Was there a industry, county, national standard that kind of we mimicked, or did we just?
Yes, we do. So what we do is we look at the surrounding counties and their regulations, and we do copy off of other jurisdictions, but we wait until see how successful it is with them, and then we call them and find out, is this working for you? Is this addressing the issues that we've been also having?
Okay, thank you.
Is this one of those things that, to pick up on what Mr. Wright is saying, is this one of those things that I remember hearing that we're picking up on the idea that the greatest generation is aging and we want to create places for them to come live with, granny cottages type things, as opposed to another house that maybe someday somebody might lot split or something? Is it kind of that idea?
Kind of that.
Sort of, kind of? Or I could have made it up, I don't know. I got you. Any other questions for staff? Is the applicant here? Yes, sir, please come on down. Am I dreaming? Is granny garage or cottages, isn't that a thing in the planning world?
Yes, it is, and you
Okay.
are correct. We do have a 35% of the living area of the
That's right.
single-family home.
Gotcha, thank you. I'm sorry, sir, please, your
Mark
name and
Weller,
address.
112 Citrus Tree Lane, Longwood, Florida, and figures I'd be the unique property to go through a test case. We've owned this property since 2000. We've done a lot of work on it. It's a very, I'm sure you've seen this, it's a very unique piece of property. There's commercial around it, in front of it. There is a similar structure that is catty-corner to the rear, because there's an alley that goes behind the property. And so there's already a detached garage that is considerably larger than the one we want to put in. The reason why we're doing it is because we've had complaints from tenants that you can't store anything in the property. The carport is very difficult to even get a vehicle underneath because it's so low. It's an older house, it's built in 1950. So you obviously the inside that we just remodeled is beautiful. So we're working on the outside, and so we have the dilemma that there's a well, and it just would be not economically feasible to go ahead and put a garage in that area. So what we'd want to do is we have plenty of property, and we're not encroaching on any setback or anything. We can move this thing anywhere we really want it. So we're just looking for the variance. And we were told that we wouldn't have to get a variance if we had a breezeway. So, you could approve it, you would approve it with a breezeway, but I have to get a variance if I don't have a breezeway. So that's where we're at.
Gotcha. Any questions for the applicant? Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Is there anyone else in the audience to speak in support of this matter? Seeing none, is there anyone in the audience speaking in opposition to this matter? Seeing none, gentlemen?
Move to approve.
Motion approved from Mr. Beagley, second from Mr. Wright. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, sir, enjoy.
Kathy Hamilton Development Services, 1611 Rutledge Road. This is a request for a roof height variance from 12 feet to 29 feet for a detached garage in the R1 AAA, the zoning district, which is Mandarin subdivision. They're requesting for a proposed garage, and this is the same rule that we passed, in fact, that they do not want any accessory structures to exceed the principal building in the terms of mass, size, or height. So the existing home is 12 feet high. They're asking for this detached garage, which is 2 stories, to be 29 feet, hence needing to have this variance. There are no other variances that are in this area that are similar to this. We do have some that are detached accessory structures, but not for the height of it. And this concludes my presentation.
Thank you, ma'am. Gentlemen, questions for staff? Seeing none, is the applicant here?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Anything you'd like to add? Yes, sir.
How you doing this evening? My name's Chris Sabia at 1611 Rutledge Road. Going for the variance today to do additional dwelling in the backyard, and then putting a mother-in-law suite above the garages. The garage would be used for a workshop and boat storage, and then the dwelling above would be for my kids later on in life or down the road. The workshop would be for me and the kids to utilize.
Gotcha.
There are a lot of other dwellings, like she mentioned, in the neighborhood that are just under what I'm going to be proposing. Some of them are within 9 feet, smaller than mine. Just going for a little bit more to put the mother-in-law suite above.
Gotcha. Thank you, sir. Gentlemen, questions for the applicant?
It was hard pulling off. I tried to pull GPS for satellite. I don't think you have any neighbors. I mean, that's close enough to see that. I read your report. I read your answers. Dare I ask, are your neighbors okay with it? Or I think I read you said that no one can even see it.
Yeah.
Am I correct on that?
Correct.
Thank you, sir.
We're very well wooded in our area.
I can see.
We back up to 13 acres that are all heavily wooded. Both neighbors don't have an issue with it. It's going to be very hard to see from the street. I understand the county's requirements and arguments about not seeing a large structure on the main road or coming into the neighborhood. It would be an eyesore, but this is not something you're going to see.
I do need to interject by you saying a mother-in-law suite is considered to be an accessory dwelling unit, and that has a whole nother level of requirements. So right now in your application, it was only for storage and potential living space. So if you do want to make this into an accessory dwelling unit, come and see us because we need to make sure that it meets all of the criteria. Because there's other criteria such as it can't be more than 35% of the square footage of your home.
Correct. and I
Amount of
just-
impervious, so just for you to be aware of that.
Yes, that is correct. And one of the comments that just came up just recently in the plan review was that 35% square
yeah.
footage, which is going to ultimately lead me into another variance.
Yeah, and variance is easier thing to deal with than code enforcement and everything that flows therefrom, so gotcha. Good, good. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. And one other question, or one other comment. We did address in the revised set of plans that were just submitted, the pervious area.
Okay, good.
So we are taking some of
So
the.
you are aware of the
Yeah.
requirements? Okay.
Yeah, we are taking some of the asphalt up that pertains to the driveway.
Good. Thank you, sir. Anyone in the audience to speak in support of this matter? Anyone in the audience to speak in opposition to this matter? Seeing none, gentlemen.
Move to approve.
Motion approved from Mr. Beagley. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Levant has seconded. Those in favor?
Excuse me, I have a question, please.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
That's okay, that's all right.
Question for staff?
You answered my question, because that's what I was going to, when he mentioned the mother, because there was the, whatever, the balcony off the top night. So you answered my question regarding that this is different criteria than what they're asking in the current package that we have. Where was I going with this? I just lost my train of thought. Sorry, give me a second.
Take your time.
My question was, now that they would look at it as an ADU that has living space in it, does that do away with our requirement for being at a residential in different proportions than the primary?
Right, it doesn't change the fact that they still have to get the height variance for
Okay,
this.
okay.
They would have to do that nonetheless, whatever they
Nonetheless.
were going to use it for.
Okay.
There's just additional requirements for.
So,
ADU.
what paths we've had before, using a breezeway to connect it to the primary doesn't make it all one level at that, or one primary. They don't need the ADU part of it.
Right.
I'm just asking that question if that's valid, or that doesn't work.
No, the variance will still be, to make sure I understood the last of your question, you're asking, does this variance matter if it's going to be utilized?
Well, my theoretical was,
breezeway.
if it was connected with a breezeway, which then is connected to the residential.
They would still need the height variance.
They would still need the height. That's
Yes.
what I was looking for. Thank you.
When you hear that, that's because of, if you have the breezeway, they consider it to be an addition to
Correct.
the house. And so then it has different setbacks.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so we have a motion to approve, and it's been seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, enjoy.
Sorry, that was a non-answer by me.
No, well, that's considered
I know.
support, so that's what I always do. All right, so let's return back to agenda item number 12, which is 2001 Sipes Avenue. And if the board will allow me, I'm thinking maybe what we should do is ask the two nice ladies who had previously spoken in opposition, and y'all just sat back down, but could I ask y'all to come back down, please? What I'd like to hear is whether your thoughts have changed. And no pressure, you feel how you feel, that's your right. But we have to have it in front of a microphone. And honest to goodness, don't want y'all to feel pressure or anything to say anything other than what you really feel. If I look at my notes, we have Ms. Stevens and Ms. Johnson. Okay.
Yes,
So have your thoughts changed?
yes, sir.
All right, what are your thoughts now?
Since
We
we
are,
got, since we got the correct information and that it does not affect our property, we're okay.
Ms. Stevens, you agree?
yes.
All right, thank you, ladies, appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Just to be fair to the applicant, anything you'd like to add, sir? All righty. So, having heard all of that, gentlemen, your pleasure.
So I move to approve, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Beagley has moved to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Wright and Mr. Levant. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, enjoy. So now, last thing, oh, was there?
Did we not have a motion before we, and then we
I amended it.
amended it to continue?
I amended the motion to continue it.
Which one counts?
The last one? The one that I let me vote on?
The one that I just made another motion for.
So, last thing on the agenda is the minutes.
That's a troublemaker.
The chair will entertain a motion to approve. We have a motion to approve?
Second.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
There we go. For the good of the order, anything else? Staff, anything you need to share?
No, sir.
All right, thank you all so much. I think this was a darn good meeting. Good night.
Good night.